I just made $5,000 in 3 days, okay? I got a lot to break down here, a lot to cover, but I have been moving into a new house, okay? This is my new space here. I wish I could show you guys a little bit more, but I'm kind of limited with my equipment right now. I'm actually using a different camera. I still have this one that I need to get set up and the whole room set up as well, but I just wanted to make a quick video because football is starting, the NFL is back, and we have not been cashing more than we have the past couple of weeks, okay? $5,000 in 3 days is a fuck ton of money. Let's be honest here, okay? So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how I did it and how you can follow my exact steps using arbitrage sports betting. Now, I know you're tired of hearing about arbitrage, okay? But this had to be made because football is back, and if you're not using arbitrage betting yet, what are you doing? Because I just cashed 5K in 3 days. If you know, that's probably like my 5th time saying it, but that's besides the point. I'm going to be going over a bunch of different things, how you can get started, how you can actually start, placing your bets, going over different types of sports books, going over the odds and how the market works, and just going over basically, a quick overview of how I did, make this $5,000 in just only 3 days. I don't have too large of a bankroll, okay? I kind of scaled my way up, and I'll also give you guys some tips on how to increase your bankroll if you're just starting out, which I know a lot of you guys watching this video are. And if you guys don't know who I am, okay, my name is Choi Cooks. I've been doing this for a very, very long time now. Arbitrage betting is my main thing. I make like 20K a month from doing it sustainably, okay? I do this long term, and even though limits and bans are a thing, I still have ways to continue doing it using P2s, approaching the strategy differently and correctly, and just a bunch of different things that we'll go over shortly in today's video. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. I kind of want to go over what exactly arbitrage sports betting is. If you're new, watch this part. If you already know what it is, feel free to skip ahead like 2 or 3 minutes. But arbitrage betting, or arbing, is basically just a strategy that involves placing bets on equal and opposite outcomes. So, I mean, you can see the definition here, right? We're placing bets on all possible outcomes of an event with different bookmakers. So we're using 2 different sports books at a very minimum to guarantee a risk-free profit. Now, I know that can sound a little bit too good to be true, but it's not. I'll tell you that firsthand. It's not too good to be true. That's exactly what I thought as well. But it's not, right? Because this is made possible by exploiting sportsbook discrepancies or sportsbook mistakes. Now, it's not illegal, but it is frowned upon by sportsbooks, which I said in the beginning, you will face limits by using this strategy. But that's not the end of the world. We'll get into that in a little bit, but just the basics of arbitrage betting, what it actually is. Risk-free profit strategy, where we're taking advantage of mistakes made by the books, inefficient line movement, right? All of the fragments in the market's very inefficient. So there's a ton of these opportunities that we're able to actually take and, have, huge success on. I'm not the one that made this strategy. There's a bunch of people talking about arbitrage on Reddit, Twitter, etc. Alright guys, now we need to go over what sportsbooks you actually have access to. Now this is a link to the top 100 sportsbooks inside the USA, so the most popular. Do your own due diligence as to what is available in your state versus what's not. I mean, there's a bunch here, right? The most common will be FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, MGM, Fanatics, Bet365. All of these different ones are all great for arbitrage betting, okay? Now, if you're in a state like California, Texas, or Florida without access to any sportsbooks at all, it's not over for you. You will be slightly more limited than if you were to be in like Virginia, for example, because they have all of these books. But you still can use a strategy. I'll go over how in just a second. But following along with me here, you can find a link to this OddsJam tool through the link in my bio. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial. No strings attached. But just going to do a quick overview of how this works. Okay, so normally on like a Thursday or even a Sunday, there's going to be flooded with football opportunities. Now it's a Tuesday right now, so there's no action, but you can only imagine, right? There's so much here just for non-football that with the amount of games and the amount of volume football has, it's gonna be flooded. So right here is the ARB percentage. This is the ROI, so your return on investments of your arbitrage opportunity. Next is going to be the events that we're going to be betting both the over and the under. So we have the market, we have here player hits, player outs, etc. And these are going to be the sports books, okay? Once you have access, or once you've decided what sports books you're going to be on, head over to the filters tab and select these different sports books. Now, while we're here, I'm going to go over the different filters that I like to use. Percentage, I usually have this at a minimum of 2. all the way up to 8% for pre-match. We'll go over live in a second as well. But that's essentially all I really have for percentages and what I like to target. And then once you have that, this is the bet size, which is telling you how much to put on each side. This calculator is super helpful because, one, it tells us the discrepancies, right? And then two, it also tells us how much to put on each side, because I'm not very good at math, so I would never know how, to put $500 or $310. But the whole goal is to make your payout match, and this saves me a lot of time here. So I just know put $500 on Bet Rivers on this team and then $310 on Bovada. This team come out with a risk-free $50. So this literally means that you can bet the yellow team to win, or you can bet Bovada's team to win. I don't even know how to pronounce that, but you can bet this team to win or this team to win. No matter what happens, whoever wins, you're coming out with $50. I know you're putting $810 down, but I would much rather take a 5% guaranteed ROI than gamble my money on anything else, right? Because at the end of the day, a gamble is a gamble. It doesn't matter how good your odds are. If you can secure some type of risk-free guaranteed profit, I don't see why you wouldn't just, put down the amount of money that you need to put down, because at the end of the day, it is risk-free. Heading over to live, I want to give you guys some of the settings that I like to use. As you can see, it's pretty flooded with tennis. I will literally just come over here, go to market, and deselect tennis, or I'm sorry, not market, league, and all of tennis, table tennis, it's all gone. There's no games going on right now, so as you can see, there's no live opportunities, but you're never going to be fast enough to even get a live opportunity down. And just with so much tennis, right, like it's just going to flood your screen. We want to focus on football here. Football is very profitable with arbitrage sports betting. I mean, I'll show you guys my my bet tracker right now. In the past 3 days, I've made $4.7 thousand, okay? Right? 5%, 2%, 2%, 2%. If you took all of these bets right here, you're getting $50, $20, $20, $20, $20, $15. So that's like what? Almost $200. And I could get all of these bets in within like 10 minutes. So you do need a little bit of capital here, but when you really weigh the pros and the cons, you're getting risk-free profit. So is it really that big of a deal, right? You just kind of have to have the right mindset, the right mentality to actually be, profitable with this strategy. Now, if you are inside California, Texas, or Florida, even if you're not, you should be using books like ProfitX and Novig. Now, these are called exchanges, right? Exchanges, you're playing against other people. You're betting against other people. You're not betting against the house or the app. So they don't limit you. You can make $1 million off ProfitX. You can make $1 million arbitrage betting off Novig. You're never going to get limited, right? They don't care how much money you make, because that's not, it's correlated. They're not losing money every time you make money. Like, let's say, for example, you win a $200 bet on DraftKings. They're now $200 poorer than they were before. But ProfitX and Novig, they profit from you just using their platform because they take a small fee. So with that being said, you need to get on ProfitX and Novig, because these are sports books, literally, like basically sports books without the book part. And, they don't limit you. And limits is like a huge thing when it comes to arbitrage sports betting. Because obviously, like I mentioned, the books, they don't appreciate getting taken advantage of. So there are a couple ways to stay under the radar with, arbitrage betting. Number one, get on ProfitX and Novig, Fliff, Bovada. All of these are slower to limit or don't limit at all. Okay, this is how you're going to do it in California. And you kind of see why I say you're going to be a little bit more limited in California and Texas and Florida, because you still have access to the strategy, but you don't have access to all of the other opportunities that probably the rest of the country has. So it's still very, very profitable, but just not as profitable. Just trying to be realistic here so you guys can, no fluff and just kind of understand how it works. But yes, these two are great. Another way that we can actually avoid limits or stay under the radar is by not taking any player props. So another thing I like to do when I'm using pre-match arbitrage betting is head over here and then go to, where is it? Markets, and deselect player props. Okay, now the reason we deselect player props here is because something called CLV. Every single time you beat CLV by a certain percent, the books can see it. And what CLV basically is by how much value, or how basically the mistake made by the sports book and how much you beat them by. So let's say, for example, right, we see the odds here, minus 141 on Bet Rivers. We can kind of see that is, the odds change already, but let's just imagine this was minus 141 here, okay? Now, you can see that minus 141 is clearly a mistake from the rest of the market. Now, it moved all the way up to minus 265, and right when the game starts, that's when the market closes. You can't get any more bets in, right, at this price. So let's say the market closed at minus 265, but we got it in at minus 141. Now, we beat CLV by however many points that is, right? Like maybe 120. Or when you put it into percentages, I don't know the math there, but that's how much you beat CLV by. And when you beat CLV before the game happens, the books can see that you secured value. And when they do a review of your account, they're going to see that you're arbitrage sports betting, and it's not very hard for them to limit you or to even detect that. But when you're live sports betting, feel free to hammer as many player props as you want. Now, the reason for that is because, one, it's live. So let's say the Vikings are playing again and they score a touchdown. Now their money line is going to be a different odd than it was before they scored the touchdown, or someone gets sacked, or someone gets ejected, someone fumbles the ball. So much can happen in the time frame of the bet being live, the game being live, that the lines are always moving, right? So you could get value, but that could have been a fair bet, before you actually took advantage of the sportsbook's mistake inside of the pre-match opportunity. So another thing is to just avoid player props when you're using pre-match. And obviously get on these two books. And the last tip that I have for you guys for limits or to just remain profitable, especially in this football season, is to round your bets. Now, a lot of the times we'll head over to this calculator, and let's say I wanted to put $1,000. It'll tell me to put 614.83 on the other side. Now, what I would personally do is round this up to 615, round it down to 610, right? Because another trigger for arbitrage betting is if we're putting 83 cents, who's really betting 83 cents with this much money? You know what I mean? So round your bets. Super simple, not too much of an explanation there. Shouldn't really affect your profits too much. Just make sure to round to kind of avoid sportsbook detection, because the last thing we want is for the sportsbooks to review our account and know that we're arbitrage betting, because then we are limited, and then we can't place more than $100 on a certain side. Obviously, limits aren't the end of the world. You just have to create more accounts using P2s. That's something that you can learn on Twitter or Reddit. I'm not going to make a video about that here. But that's basically the whole basis of the strategy. Now, how fast do limits come? That really just depends on the sports book. That really depends on your activity, right? How you approach this strategy. But with the amount of volume that football has, I'm constantly making tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And with football starting, I expect to see a $30,000 month this month, if not the very next month after that. Mark my words, I'll come back with a video showing, my profits and results. But yeah, that's basically the entire football strategy, or just the entire strategy for arbitrage in general, okay? And I know you guys have heard this 1,000 times. If you haven't, I'm happy to be the one to explain it to you. But, with football starting, the NFL starting, the NBA is coming back as very, very soon too. If you're not doing arbitrage, you're missing out on a ton of money for no reason, right? So I just want to, bring light to this strategy again, especially with the rise of the upcoming season. But yeah, guys, with that being said, I don't really have too much left for this video here. But yeah, I really hope you guys can give arbitrage a try. If you do have any questions at all, feel free to leave a comment, DM me on Instagram at ChoiCooks, whatever. I love teaching this stuff, man. If you're, wanting to try it out, feel free to reach out. I always try to respond to as much as I can. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. It helps out OddsJam a ton. It helps me out a ton. And like I mentioned, if you want to give OddsJam a try, use the link in the description, and you will get 35% off and a free discount, or I'm sorry, a free 7-day trial. But yeah, that's the strategy on how I made $4,000 in the past 3 months. Super, I guess, pretty much self-explanatory, or maybe it's just self-explanatory to me because I've been doing this for a long time. If this still sounds confusing to you, like I mentioned, just leave a comment. I'll try and respond and make some more videos about that. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.